Hi, I'm Alex. In this video, I'm going to show you how I made a wireless charging station for my phone. The wireless charger I bought doesn't have any way to keep my phone in place, so sometimes my cats walk across my nightstand and bump my phone out of the charging zone and I wake up to a dead battery. I designed the components in SolidWorks so that I could 3D print the base, make a silicone mold from that part, use the mold to cast the base in cement, and then mill the top out of wood. The first time I 3D printed the base, the tolerances were too tight and the charger didn't fit inside. So I made the hole slightly larger and printed another one and the charger fit perfectly. To make the silicone mold, I made a box out of acrylic with the laser cutter. I cut out all the pieces, peeled off all the backing paper, and hot glued them together around the base. I couldn't get a good watertight seal and the acrylic was too thick and would have been too difficult to remove without damaging the mold, so I switched to foam board. I cut all the pieces and wrapped them in packing tape so the hot glue didn't melt the foam and to make it easier to remove the silicone mold. I glued the 3D printed base inside of the foam box and filled it with water. This let me know that it was sealed for the silicone and also how much silicone I needed to mix. I measured how much water it held, then measured half of that and marked it on my mixing cup. This silicone is a 1-to-1 ratio, so I poured in the first part to the halfway mark and weighed the amount used. I zeroed the scale when it reached the mark and added the same amount of the second part. I mixed these together for a few minutes until it was a single color. I cleaned up the base to make the cast come out a little cleaner. I poured the silicone into the box and shook and tapped it on all sides to settle the silicone into all corners and vibrated it to release some of the gas. I let this cure according to the manufacturer recommendation and carefully removed the box, then carefully removed the base from the mold. I cleaned up the edges with a blade. I filled the mold with water and measured the volume so I knew roughly how much cement I needed. I mixed the cement with some charcoal dye to make it darker and mixed well. I coated the mold in vegetable oil to make the part easier to remove and poured the cement in. I vibrated and tapped it from all sides to settle the cement into the corners of the mold and to release some of the gas. I let this harden, then carefully removed it from the mold. I was really impressed with how well the mold transferred all the detail to the cement. It turned out the right size and I liked the bubbles from the imperfect cast that I made. Most importantly, the wireless charger fit perfectly inside of it. For the wood top, I started with a rough milled piece of walnut and jointed one face and one side to make a square edge. I cut it to length and milled out the bottom to fit over the base. I flipped it over and milled out the top to make a bumper to hold the phone. I chiseled the corners of the bottom to remove the round edges left from the mill and give it sharp corners for the base to fit into. I rounded the outside corners on the belt sander. I sanded the cement to smooth out the bottom and break the sharp edges a little bit. I sanded the wood top to make it smoother and remove some of the tool marks left from the mill. I removed all the dust from sanding and finished it with a hand-rubbed mineral oil. I sanded with 400 grit and applied another coat. I cut a piece of cork sheet to fit on the bottom of the base to keep the cement from scratching my wood nightstand. I glued this on with spray adhesive. I made a second version of the top on the laser cutter. I loved the look of the cement, so I wanted a minimalist version that exposed more of it. I cut out the shape for the top, a small bumper to hold the phone in place, and 2 side pieces to register into the cement base. I glued these all together with super glue. I cut some small pieces from extra walnut to go on the sides to keep the top from tipping when pressed on the edge. I was worried the top would be too thick for the wireless charging to work through my phone case, but it works perfectly for both the walnut and the laser cut tops. I'm really pleased with how it came out and I learned a bunch in the process. Thanks for watching.